Hi, my name is Abdul Abdullah. Welcome to my studio in Sydney. I do a whole lot of painting here. I've been living in Sydney for about 6 or 7 years, but before that I grew up almost entirely in Perth. My full name is Abdul Hamid bin Ibrahim bin Abdullah. I go by Abdul for short. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers, all called Abdul, but I get to use Abdul Abdullah because I got all the social media handles first, so I locked it down. On my paternal side, I'm a 7th generation Australian. And my mother, she is from the Bugis tribe, which is originally from Indonesia, but she grew up in Malaysia. I've been making art for as long as I can remember. I was really lucky, like my mum was very supportive when I was very small, making drawings. And both my older brothers went to art school, and they're quite a bit older than me. So when I was in primary school and the beginning of high school, and they were the coolest people in the world to me, they were both studying art full time. So I was really drawn to that, and it seemed a really natural thing for me to go on to study that eventually. When I'm making an artwork, the beginnings happen all over the place. So sometimes there's an idea that's been bubbling in my head for a couple of years that finally comes out in an artwork. Other times it's a news story or a meme or a film that I've seen that's inspiration for it. When I'm thinking about an artwork, and one of the privileges I have now, like being a full-time professional artist with access to all sorts of different materials and different avenues to create a work, is I think have the idea first and then think of the best way to materialize that idea. And in the past, it's always been painting. I use these traditional ways of telling stories, but telling my stories, which happen to be current, I guess, because I'm here now. My practice has definitely been shaped or formed by my political experience in this country. So 9/11 happened when I was about 14 years old, and I went from being the 3 Bs, I think, the brown, broke and beautiful, to an existential threat, depending on where I went. And it was a really confronting thing to experience. And when I was very young, all I did was just get very angry about it. And that reflected in the way that I lived my life, and I was, just an angry young man. And it was through my creative practice, it gave me a platform, but also helped me articulate those frustrations, to channel those frustrations into something that was positive. For me, art has been invaluable in that process. And I think that it's really valuable for other people who are experiencing similar things. And it might not be the same political context, but there's certainly a whole lot of frustrations out there. And art is a good way to get your head around things and to get people to listen too. Like I don't think people would listen to me if I wasn't making pretty pictures. I entered the Brett Whiteley Travelling Art Scholarship in 2016. I entered a painting called Go About Your Business. With that particular painting, it was an image of an Australian soldier in Afghanistan, where I obscured their face and changed the colour of their uniform to make it an anonymous figure. And then over the top, I'd spray painted a smiley face. So this big garish smile. It's almost like vandalising the image, but not vandalising the image because it's still a friendly smile over the top, almost an emoji. And it plays around with these 2 things. One where you've got a person that's essentially an invading presence in a country, and that person is covered in guns. But then over the top, you've got this smiling, like, don't worry about it, there's nothing to see here, that sort of thing is going on. I think it's really important, regardless of the platform, I want to use it as an opportunity to put a work forward that makes a political comment and is in line with the rest of my practice. Like, I never want to do just a nice painting or something like that, or a pretty picture. It has to mean something to me personally. I thought the Brett Whiteley Travelling Scholarship was a good opportunity to talk about these things because it has so much prominence, and it's a chance for you to say something real. When I speak to young artists or speak to young people who are wanting to pursue arts, the first bit of advice that I give is for them to find a community, and to find a community of like-minded people who are interested in the same things, who they can lean on or can be lent on to help each other and to share resources, to build practices, put on shows, and to find like new and unique opportunities. And residencies are a really good way to fast track that. And my experiences with residencies, especially overseas, was a very quick way to find like-minded people who are working not just in the country or in your city or in your town, but in our region or in the world. So I spent a lot of time doing residencies in Indonesia, and through that met a lot of artists in Southeast Asia of my generation, and we've created a network. And a network sounds kind of cynical when you say it like that, but it's a network of friends who also share opportunities, who are sounding boards for each other's practices and help refine ideas.